a difference, one cup at a time. Yeah, this is tea time. Yeah, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time.
Welcome. Good morning. We are back. That's right. Miss Liz is back. I want to first thank everybody who sent their well wishes to me a couple weeks ago when I fell down with COVID. So I want to thank all of the viewers and listeners out there for all your special cards and messages and DMs and phone calls. They really did mean a lot to me. So I want to first thank you all for that. And I am back. So we will be catching up with the January guests that were not able to make it because I was ill. But now let's get into this morning's tea time. That's right, we have an incredible guest coming in from the United States. So I'm going to bring her in, but we're going to start with the disclaimer and all of that good stuff that we usually do each and every morning. So grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab your glass of wine, whatever you're drinking this morning, because tea time is not about the beverage. So the disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live shows. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forward dialogue and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion for forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in this show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that this show is not made for you at this time, I respect that and will see you at a later show at a later time and date. So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining in. So before we get started, I'm just going to bring in a little bio of Mae Renfroe, and then I'm going to drop her into the studio, and we're going to sit and we're going to pour some good tea. But today's tea may trigger some. We're going to talk about grief. Grief is a hard topic, but we're going to talk about other things as well. We're going to talk about her incredible book, Hope, Holding On to Hope. And we're going to really sit down and find out a little bit more about Mae. So if you'd like to know more about Mae, you can check out her website. Check out the descriptions in the audio box as well, because that's where all the good information is with Miss Liz's guests. So a little bit about Mae. Mae Renfroe is a homeschooling mother of 10 children, newborn to 22, who lost 3 family members to sudden death. Within 3 years, she brings new hope, new purpose, and new energy to broken hearts with big dreams. She has been passionate about encouraging fellow moms in their mothering and drawing women closer to the heart of God, and have been doing so for a number of years. Through my blog and more recently via her YouTube channel and her Facebook group. Even if the unbearable seasons of life, He is nearer than we sometimes think. He promises to never leave us nor forsake us. We have to keep believing, keep trusting, keep loving, keep worshiping, and keep praising. She believes a greater intimacy with God leads to an inner peace, unquenchable joy, and an everlasting hope, regardless of what we may go through in this life. So I'm going to drop her into the studio. I'm going to let her introduce herself a little bit more. So anything I've missed, May will let you know. And I'm just going to grab my tea and sit back and listen to her talk for a little bit. Welcome, May. It is an honor to have you here today. So anything that I miss, I'm going to let you spill the tea.
Okay, good morning. I'm glad to be here. I'm excited about our conversation today. Yeah, you pretty much shared all, well, just in a little nutshell. I'm a mom of 10 children, ages 22 to our youngest is 6 months now, chubby little guy. And so, yeah, homeschool mom. So I'm pretty busy. Taking care of them and just pouring into them about Jesus and, trying to raise my family best I can to know and to love God and all of that. And it's parenting is a hard job for sure. And it's then from that overflow that I pour into my kids and my family every day is then what I try to pour into others too, just to be a light and to be a witness and to give hope and encouragement, like you said, from our story of loss, of child loss. I just became more passionate about being a light and really caring about other people's problems and hurts and the things they go through. I don't know if I was that sensitive, but when something like this happens, you suddenly I don't know, you see people with kind of new eyes or in a new way. And you also know what it's like to be there and to walk in that, and how much I depended on Jesus. And so I know they need Jesus to get through something hard. So yeah.
May, you're a mother of 10 children. So what are the ages of your children?
Okay. Yeah. 22. Okay. Then the one in between that, the one we lost would be 20, and then 17, 15. I have one daughter turning 13 this weekend, and 11, 8, 5, 3, and my 6-month-old. So, yeah, so I just got all the ages. Right.
Wow. You've been a busy mommy.
Yeah. Yeah. All the ages just right in the middle of it. And I think it is hard having the older ones and the little, guys, when they're all little, you focus on that little, but now it's like you're trying to focus on the older ones and their needs of teenhood and adulthood, but you still got these little ones, and so it's a challenge. Only God that is enables us to do what we do in that way. For all the mothers that are doing it.
Yeah, because there's so many different age ranges, right? Like you have the teenagers, the preteens, and then the adults, and then the little guys. So do they all help each other? Do they get along? How does that work?
Pretty much they get along and help each other and help as a household, because that's what we trained them, that we're part of a family. We work together, we help each other. So they're pretty good. You just have to be reminded of their duties and what they're to do, and then they get along. Mostly it just times and there's little issues. But yeah, they know how to resolve them, it seems like, and with the help of us parents. And yeah, they're quite a team, I think. Yeah, my oldest son, he works at a Bible camp. He comes home still occasionally to visit, and everyone is always so happy to have him home and to have enjoy their brother like that. And yeah.
Oh, that's nice. So you wrote that in your bio, you said that you lost 3 family members. So who did you lose in a row?
Okay, I started with my son, Clayton, at the age of 14. So I'll share more of that. And then that was 2017. So in 2018, the fall, we lost my dad, sudden death. He died, I guess, from a heart attack in his sleep. And so his health was declining because of diabetes, but we still didn't know. My mom phones me at 5:30 in the morning I'm thinking that he's made a turn for the worst, and she calls to tell me that he's gone. And so that's pretty hard when I just was saying, oh, something's up with dad. When when the phone rings that early, something's up with dad, but she's like, he's gone. And so, yeah, yes, for sure. Just really, really hard. You don't see that coming. But to go in your sleep, we had to realize, it's funny how you can find these things to be thankful for. We're like, well, he would have loved that if he would have known, if he would have told you how he wanted to go, it would have been in his sleep. So that's for sure. And then my brother Lee, then the following year, so 2019, December 2019, had a vehicle rollover. Just by himself, a single vehicle rollover in the wintertime. It was up in Canada. We were up in Canada. So I'm a Canadian too, actually.
Oh, well, look at that, fellow Canadian.
Yes, I'm a Canadian as well. That's where I was born and raised. And then since I'm married a Texan, then we've been down here. But we've been going back and forth. He has dual as well now. So we go back and forth. They're going up in the spring. So, yeah, that was in the winter up there. And he went off the road and down in a little gully, I guess you'd call it. And yeah, so it was, we didn't see that coming, of course. And so it was like these 3 tests in a row, really hard. But of course, it was my sons that really rocked our world and really, really affected us in many ways. So, which I can go ahead and share that if you're ready for me to.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Share. Okay. So yes, this losing our son happened on April 19th of 2017, and just a regular ordinary day at our house. We're all doing our things. I was homeschooling, yes, at the time, because I have been all the years, but we did have one son in school. The next under him, he was 12, I think. He just turned 12, and we had him in school that year for certain reasons. So anyway, he was so when Clayton would get done school, he got done early. And that was his closest brother, and he just had to try to pass time until that. His brother got off the school bus. So after lunch, he decided he was going to go over by a dugout just to hang out. He'd already been outside looking for something to do, and he came in and told me he's going to go over there. And so I'm like, okay, see you later, and so little did I know that was the last time I was going to be seeing him alive. And he took the four-wheeler over there, and so he was alone. So we had, after when we found him, the four-wheeler had rolled over on him, and the autopsy showed he had died of a broken neck and a broken back. So he was just simply here one moment with us and gone the next. Like they said, little to no trauma. So he wasn't there, calling for help and stuff. We could rest and, in that and feel thankful and grateful for that. But yeah, it looked like just a very small slope. It looked like he maybe just got on a wrong angle. He wasn't playing around. They knew they weren't to do that. Four-wheelers weren't toys, and they weren't allowed to do that. But it looks like he just took a wrong angle, and it just flipped, and he rolled over. And when you look at that little embankment there, I didn't go out there until 4 or 5 months after. I just couldn't bring myself to go to that spot. And so when I did, I look at that and I'm just like, how could have that happened on this hill? And it's one of those things that, and I felt that in the moment, even without seeing that hill, and wondering how in the world could that have happened. I knew that if it was his time to go, and if it wasn't his time to go, he'd still be here. And I just had felt that peace of God that I'm like, it was his time. I don't know why, but it was his time to go. And you look at that hill and you're just like, how in the world did that accident happen? So in our terms, we call it an accident, but I guess I don't believe, in accidents in that way, that it was, it was a part of God's plan that I didn't see coming. We don't know why and understand, but like, it's something that God, it was, his time to go. And so, and then God was giving us the strength to preparing us before it even happened. You don't really see that behind the scenes that God is preparing us in ways that we don't realize. And so.
Well, and the loss of a child is really hard, especially when there's no warning, right? And and it sounds like all the 3 that you lost were no warning signs. They were gone. So
Yeah.
1 minute they're here, 1 minute they're gone. It is hard. There's no goodbye. There's no warnings. There's no preparation. So is that what led you to writing the book, Holding On to Hope?
Yes, because I've just read off. I knew that I would want to share my story because I'd already kind of been doing stuff like on a blog. I was already keeping a blog where I was sharing inspiration, parenting stuff, and spiritual insights, and that kind of thing. So I was already doing that. So as soon as I lost him, I knew that I was going to be starting. So I started writing on my blog, and I would share what happened. I actually told the story of losing Clayton that day, April 19th, 2017. And then just started pouring into what someone else might be feeling if they're going through something. So I'm going through this, today, this is how I feel, but here's some verses that helped me. Here's like a quote or a song or something. And I would share that. So that's what's that book. So it's going to hold it up here. So this book then, Holding On to Hope, now is the 4 years of those blog posts put together that shares our story and shares the hope that God gave me and that peace that I had that kept me going. And because I know that for anyone, no matter what they're going through, they can find the hope and the peace of God. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. But I guess we just have to really trust that he knows best, like I did, that he is in control. He was still on the throne. He was still there with us. He didn't leave us or forsake us as he's promised us. And so, I turned that into the book. And so it has the blog post, the dates that I wrote in there and everything. It has the dates that I wrote. It starts out with the day we lost him, and just started sharing things that I was going through and that helped me, and kind of wanted to relate it to a variety of situations. So not just loss and grief, but I felt like kind of a variety of things that you can go through in life. Know that your God is ever present. He sees and he knows and he cares. And he can use any situation for his glory and for our good. Like Romans 8:28 said that all things work together for good to those who love him and are called according to his purpose. So that was really a verse I clung to. In fact, my dad quoted that verse to me right after I was in Clayton. Dad quoted that verse, and it was hard at the time. He said, I know, but this is hard. I don't understand. But he quoted me that verse, and it was really neat that he, he's like, all things are going to work out for good. You can't see right now, but we can know that God, has a plan in this. And I felt that he had a plan. I had a peace that I can't even begin to describe.
Well, and that's it, right? The first thing we do is we get angry with God because we're like, how dare you do this to me? Like, what is your plan for this? Like, and then we have to look back and say, there is a meaning behind what's going on. We might not understand in the moment because it's sudden, and that's when we question God. We question God why he puts us through these painful moments and takes people that we love away. I resonate with you, May, because my dad too, I didn't get to say goodbye to him. And it's hard when you can't say that goodbye. You get that call and you're just like, they're gone. It's very hard to process. It's like an impact. It's like a boulder coming at you and it just pound, like a big boom. And then you're like, oh my goodness, like they're gone. How does this happen? Like, how did your children feel about the loss of your son?
They all took it differently. Yes, very, very hard. They still, of course, we talk about Clayton. He's, very much a part of our lives, even though he's not here with us. We think about him a lot, all the time, always will. But yeah, so it's kind of different for different ones. My oldest son, he turned it into writing. He's been a writer. He always had already written a few little booklets at the time. He was 16, going on 17, I believe, when that happened. And so he, just a few hours after it happened, he was up in his room writing that a little booklet that turned into, I think, Sunshine from Death or something. He titled his little book, which is actually available on Amazon. I don't know if I got the title right, so it's unfortunate. That he that's how it would help him to start writing about this and just to giving hope to someone else. And then my next son, the 12-year-olds at the time, they were so close to each other, best buddies, and did everything together and got in trouble together and everything. So it was very hard on him, and just, of course, but he, we just comforted him with what I've already mentioned, that we just said, well, we don't know why, but it must have been Clayton's time to go. So we just have to rest in that and trust in God. And so that's what we poured into them. And so, after the initial time of grief, my 12-year-old just just had to carry on. We had to carry on with life. Life keeps going on, and he has kept himself busy. That's what he said is really, he just has poured himself into work and stuff to keep busy and kind of keep his mind off of it. We really got to make sure that we put God in that place, because that's what he wants to do for us, right? He wants to do that for us, to help keep our minds, where they should be, to have a healthy mind and a thought about that as we move on in life.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to hold on to hope, right?
Mhm.
I love the title of the book, Holding On to Hope, because we lose hope in those moments, you
Mhm.
know? And as a mom, it must have been hard for you because you still had all these other children that you had to stay strong for. So, what did you do for yourself, May, to stay strong?
Well, I poured myself into some inspirational books. And so I had a 3-month-old. She was my youngest, so I don't know if I. Yeah, she her eighth baby. So we had 8 at the time. She was born in January 21st. So she was just 3 months old, and so sometimes right after losing Clayton, and I would be, crying with tears down my face. And I would look down at her. She'd be looking up at me with the sweetest smile. And I'm like, you're just here for my joy, aren't you? You're just here for my joy. And I really feel, God orchestrates everything, right? All these little details. We had a baby at the time, just 3 months, before, and it was a healing balm to us, to me. I think, to teach the kids, because they love the new little sibling. And so to hold on, hold the baby and just feel that love. And yeah, so I just put it, myself into my little ones and the inspirational books I mentioned. I was reading at the time a book. When I nurse my babies, I always have time to read. So up on the headboard, I'd have my books that I was reading. And I was reading this book by Nick Vujicic, Man Born Without Arms and Legs. And he's such an inspiration to just millions around the world. And his motto is no arms, no legs, no worries. And so I'm reading one of his books. I have 4 or 5 of them. I don't know which one it was. And just the things that he was writing, I was like, I needed this. Like, God, wow, you knew that I needed this book at this moment. And then I just started pouring into more books like that of people that had a loss or going through some tragedy. I would find these books, and I would just, they were just very instrumental to me. Like when I would see the things they went through, the things they mentioned, I'm like, yeah, so they understand, they know, yeah, this is exactly what I'm going through. And they were very healing. I would just really encourage someone to do that, if that helps, to get stories and books about people going through things, so that you can see that you're not alone and that these things are normal. That's what just really, helped me in that time. And so I feel my book then would be the same should be someone in the same way. You should give them hope, and they
Well,
can have encouragement.
thank you so much, May, for sharing that. I want to get into the blogs, because the blogs is what created the book, right? So you said it was 4 years of blogging. So what blogs did you feel needed to be pulled to be put into the book?
Okay, so it was just the ones that I wrote about losing him, and how I was processing it. So yeah, I wrote it on my it's just on my website, kind of /blog, maerenfroe.com, and so that's where I would post them. Well, I think the title of I call it the title of my blog, Grieving with Hope. And at first I thought that would be a title of my book, Grieving with Hope, but then I don't know how I just kind of holding on to hope, because we got to keep holding on, right? So that thing, we got to keep holding on to hope, and not to let go, and to give in and lose hope. And so, yeah, I was just writing on there these things that I had gone through, and that could help someone else.
So we have a question here for you, May, coming in from Twitter. What changed from grieving to holding?
Oh, okay. Wow. Just that hope in God. I mean, even right in the middle of my grief, I knew there had to be a bigger purpose. There was a plan that I couldn't explain. Like, my mom and dad actually weren't just right there when it happened. They were in another province in Canada. That we were in Alberta. They were in BC. And so I talked to her on the phone before she came over, and I was like, God's got a plan. God's got a plan. So it was like immediately I was holding on to something that I knew was like, there's a plan. I can't see it, but I know it. So does that make sense? And then I wanted to see something happen right away, though. It was in the first year that actually I did start planning a ladies' retreat for women that had child loss, because I started hearing of others. And I'm like, I want to do something for them. I want to find us a speaker that can come in and speak to us and this. And I felt like I needed it for myself and I wanted it for others. And I started planning this retreat just months after losing. And it was to happen at the year mark of losing Clayton, about a year. And I started planning and pouring myself into that. And as it turned out, we had to cancel because there was no interest. I'm not sure why. Maybe God just, it wasn't quite the right timing. I don't know. We canceled. We didn't have that. But all of that, I poured my energy into it. And that helped pass the first year, I guess, too. Just planning and doing these little videos to try to get women interested in it. And I think all those things helped me. So I just, started holding on to it, knowing there's a purpose. So then I had a really down time after that retreat didn't turn out. And I really was like, God, okay, what's the plan here? Where's the miracle? What was the plan? I need a miracle. I need a miracle, God, because this is just it didn't happen when I thought it would happen. And I didn't get this definite answer, but I had that peace, again, just that peace, just that, yep, there is, just keep hanging on. Keep trusting.
Kate, May, could I ask you to hold the book up again? One of the viewers would like to see the cover of the book. Could you bring it a little closer?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So today we're talking about May's book, Holding On to Hope. She is also a mother of 10 children. She lost her son tragically with an accident. And so we're speaking on that. But we're also going to speak on May's life, homeschooling, blogging, websites, speaking, retreats, all of that good stuff. So if you'd like to leave any questions or comments in the section, you're more than welcome to, or you can privately DM me during the live broadcast and I can ask these questions to my incredible guest, May, who is a fellow Canadian that lives in the States. So I am honored to have May here today. So May, I want to get into, are you doing any retreats, or was that something that just never ever happened?
No, it never happened. After that one, I just didn't try again. I'm like, okay, I don't know. I'm not going to. Then I tried putting on a couple of speaking events in my area up north, but when I started to do that was about the time COVID hit. I canceled one, postponed it, and then so I did do one where I was just, like I said, an evening of hope. Come out for an evening of hope. I'm going to share my story. I'm going to share my hope and my faith in God, and that peace that you can have too, regardless of what you're going through. We'll have some coffee or tea or cookies after, and so and then another one. I planned, but again, no one ended up showing up because of just all that stuff going on with COVID. People were scared of that, understandably, in our area. And so, I didn't really plan those on my own. I didn't, I guess, really feel led to plan on the retreat. I would love an opportunity to come speak at one if someone does the planning for me. As a busy mom, it's, I don't really have time for planning, and I can't really do that. So just have been praying for opportunities and looking for areas that I can speak and share at.
Well, I feel like sharing our stories is healing for others, right? Because sometimes there might be a person that needs that story, needs that book. It's like you said, like you turn to different inspirational books when the loss happened. So for anybody that would like to grab a copy of Holding On to Hope, where can they find this book?
Yes, they can find it at Amazon.com. Most places on the global network where books are, like Barnes and Noble. There's a lot of different places, just wherever you can, I guess, order books online. I think like that. On my website too, at maerenfroe.com, I have a link there that will take you to Amazon, or I self-published with Blurb. So I think I'll have a link to that too. But there's a lot of places where it can be found.
Well, thank you so much. Now let's turn it a little bit the other way. We're gonna God's telling me it's time to ask you, what is your T, May? If you're serving your tea, what is it?
Like what's it words letters stand for me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just thinking about it, and I was like, together every afternoon. I don't know.
Oh.
If you're having, those that have the tea, it's usually, it's every day in the afternoon. I've got a slot together every afternoon. I really don't know what that that would look like or symbolize? And I was thinking of that for spiritual, because we really need to be taking a time for Jesus every day. And we do, but like a set time can be good too. So, because it's hard as a busy life as a mother to really set aside time. And I can't get up early in the morning because I usually don't get a lot of sleep at night. So I tend to sleep in. So, so maybe in the afternoon, like that same kind of thing, that together every afternoon to take that time to set
And that's
aside
what it
time
is,
to
right?
read.
It's your tea, because that's what your tea is calling you to do.
Mhm,
Togetherness, and that's what you're looking for, like through your book and through speaking retreats, and anybody out there that is doing women retreats or grieving retreats, and you would like a speaker, please reach out to May. Her story will really impact your guests, your clients, and customers. May, I really believe that your story is going to make a difference. It's going to impact a lot of people's lives who are grieving, because grieving is hard, especially when it's an impactful grief, when there's no warning signs, there's no preparation. It's today you're here, tomorrow you're not, you know.
mhm,
um, and you lost it three in every year, like you never got a break. It was like, you know
mhm.
and that had to have been hard for you as well, because you're grieving this one, and then the next one comes, and then the next one comes. So you really didn't have time to really take time to grieve the three of them, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
process it all. So losing your father, how was that for you?
Oh, it's hard. Again, I really think though that I didn't take it maybe as hard. What if I've heard someone say I could have been in shock still from losing my son Clayton, how it was back to back, and so really, yeah. I mean, I missed his presence of being there, not being able to get, going over to see mom and dad's not there. When you say, well, we're gonna go over to dad and mom's house, or grandpa's telling the, and I'm like, oh no, not grandpa, just mom. And get, so it's like his presence in the midst very much. Not being able to talk to him and his spiritual insights on stuff and everything. When I was still, just 1 year after losing Clayton, it was still fresh, very fresh still. But yeah, I think that from losing Clayton, I was still under all of that, and I don't know if it affected me as much as it would have. And I kind of felt bad. It's too bad that happened that way, but can't control, And so it was kind of hard too, like wondering what's the next year going to hold. Our son in 2017, my dad 2018, my brother in 2019. We're kind of like, oh well, I wonder what 2020. And it turned. Even the children, right after losing Clayton, well, we never ever thought we would lose a child. They're kind of like, well, I wonder who might be next. Even they would ponder this, and I'm like, no, don't talk that. You cannot talk that way, but you can see why it would happen, because we never thought. They're just like, I don't know, it's someone, So it's one of those things. It's funny with the things you go through and the emotions, but you just have to keep putting your trust in Jesus and know that He's in charge, and we can't control that. We don't live in fear, but I think we really need to take one day at a time, really realize that every day is a gift and our life is a miracle. I often say that in things. Our life, is a miracle, and just every day is a gift, and to see them as a gift and to not take it for granted. And you realize, we wake up in the morning and we think that we're going to go to, bed tonight. Of course we are, but not every day is that way for everyone. So just to really grasp those moments and cherish, especially with our children, they grew up so quick, cherish those moments. And that's what I try to do and encourage others to do too, and really pour into them Jesus, so that they
Yeah.
have that to stand on and hold on to.
Well, and like you said, that fear, right? Because 2017, in 2018, 2019, 2019, like your dad and your brother, right after your son, there was no break. And I can understand the fear of 2020, who's going to pass. But if you start living in that fear, then you start losing life as well, right? Because you're putting your energy into all of
Mhm,
that fear of
mhm.
loss. Um, what message would you have for any viewers out there who have lost year after year somebody close to themselves?
Wow, I can't give anything but Jesus. You know, um, yeah, what does that look like? I mean, just when you give your life to Him, I mean, He is your hope, so you can find that hope regardless of your situation. When you make Him your Savior and you're the Lord of your life, so that He's the one in control, and realize that He's in control, and just really try to rest in that, and keep trusting, and don't live in fear. Yeah, that Satan come to steal, kill, and destroy, John 10:10, but Jesus came to give us life and give us life abundantly. And so there's really no life, true life, outside of Jesus. There's nothing else I can say, but we've got to, um, if we're going to live in abundance here on earth, or if we're going to live in peace and hope to keep facing every day that we have, then that's all I can say is to give your life to Jesus completely, surrender, go all in, and then he will give you that hope, and not to live in fear, wondering what's going to happen next, who's next, or what about this, what about that. There's so many unknowns, but when we know Jesus, he's the one that's holding tomorrow. As the saying goes, you may not know what tomorrow holds, but we know who's holding tomorrow, and we can rest and trust in that. The one that created the world and created us, knit us in our mother's womb, and knew us and knew our name before we were even born. He's holding us. He's holding tomorrow. He's there before we get there, as it says in scripture. I wish I knew the verse, but he goes before us. He's going to goes before us, and he's already there. So we're walking in maybe into unknown, but it's known to him, and he is there with us constantly.
So, May, where did you get your strong faith in the Lord? Was it from your parents?
From my parents, yeah. But say if it's, you got to take it as your own, right? Yes, from my parents. They loved God as a child. I knew about God as a child, and I knew that's what I wanted. But it's growing over the years, and you've got to take it for your own. I keep telling my kids, it's not enough. My faith is not enough for you. And we pray at night. I pray with them every night after the devotions, and I say these prayers and said, you just keep praying that desire God. I say it when I pray. It's like, God, we want you. We want more of you. But you've got to say that for yourself. And so I had to take that on. And God has grown me over the years, and losing a son. I mean, you really are, let that take you down and derail you, and send you for a loop, or you have to keep putting your trust in Jesus. So I grew so much in my faith after losing Clayton. I really grew, and just could feel his peace. The verse that says, "Oh, taste and see that God is good." And seeing those little things, them ever present. I mean, losing him, there were so many things to be thankful for, actually, concerning his death, that I could see that God was with me. And it was like, yeah, you were right there with me, your comfort, your peace. I was just thanking him every day. Like one of my prayers was, thank you, God. And wake up the next day after, thank you, God. Thank you that I'm here, that you're with me. I can feel you, that you love me. That's all I can say. Yeah.
And I like that you said that our children have to ask for it for themselves as well. As parents, we can give them so much of the Lord, but they have to process and ask the Lord for the strength as well. As a parent, we have to be the nurturers, but they also have to plant their own seeds and grow. And I think that as our children grow older and they leave home, that's why we have this empty nester feeling where, like, oh my goodness, my child is gone now. What do? We need to seek the Lord in order to find strength in order for that transformation, the transfer of them leaving home and the processing. So you have 10 children. So are all 10 still living at home, or has anybody moved on, or?
Just my oldest son. He is working at the Bible camp, and so an hour and a half from here. So he just comes and goes. But he's, I guess, pretty much on his own. But he just comes home when he has breaks here and there, and comes home for a little bit. And then all the rest are at home still. So.
Yeah. So let's get into the homeschooling. Were you homeschooled as a child, or did you only start that when you had your own children?
No, I was homeschooled all the way. So that's kind of new. That's what I do. I wanted that even when I was still young. I was like, I'm going to homeschool my kids. So I was the youngest of 9. My mom did have the older children in school up to certain grades. Like, I didn't go at all. I have an older brother that he didn't either, just next to me. So 7 boys and one sister. Okay, so different than my sister. That's just so it's 6 boys, and my sister, a brother, and then me. And she went, I think, 1 year, and then the others went a few years. And my parents decided to take them out to just have bad influence in the school, and just really felt that this is, want to teach them at home and to know what they're learning and what they're not learning. And so, then I was homeschooled, and I felt that is what I wanted. And so we've been homeschooling right from the beginning. So it's been many years because Nathan, my oldest, graduated actually 2018. So I've been homeschooling about probably 16 years by now.
Oh, wow.
So it's like all I know, and it's a hard journey. Um, but they learn school is so much more than just book work, so I've learned that. See, at first I felt it was just book work. If they're not doing book work, then they're going to school. They're not doing school. And they're like, no, because everything in life is we're learning, and book work is, takes its place, very important, and we do that. And then but every other things in life, just being part of a big family, and learning responsibilities inside and outside the home, this is all education. It's all part of what's important, and learning to know about God as well as part of that. So I've relaxed a lot over the years. I used to be more stressful for the kids, but I've come to relax more. And well,
So if anybody would like to homeschool their children, is there like a place where they get books and lessons, courses? Like, how does that work?
Oh yes, yeah. I could totally just buy usually a complete curriculum from a place. You can get either complete curriculum or random books here and there on different things, or online classes too. I for curriculums right now I'm using ACE, some Ron Staff. I've used Christian education before, I've like that, and so online classes we're paying $10 for the whole family a month to have these different online classes. That's really helped too. And there's a lot of that out there. If you just look online classes, there's many different companies that do that can be pretty inexpensive, or gets or more expensive. But they're teaching them. These are more like electives. So American Hand language, art, there's some math classes, grammar classes. There's classes for older students, kind of. I forget what my daughter's doing, but music classes. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of stuff, yeah, and a lot of homeschool groups.
And go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say a lot of homeschool groups that you can belong to. Like in our community, we have a big homeschool group. There's co-ops and we've never actually done that, but you can have your child, you'd go help too as a mom. You'd volunteer in different classes, and they have all kinds, like all the classes there one day a week at this place where you can go and have your child in that. And it's called co-op, and you help with that, and your children can be in different classes that you might not be able to necessarily teach at home. And then they get to, be around their friends or whatever in that. And then we usually have like park days where the homeschool group will get together. And so there's really a lot in a lot of communities that homeschooling is a big thing. There's a lot of doing it.
Well, that's pretty cool, because I wasn't aware that there are like workshops and groups and community support. Going to a public school all of my life, I never had that option of being homeschooled. So I'm really curious on the benefits of homeschooling compared to public schooling for yourself as a parent. How do you feel? Because did you go to school at all, or you were homeschooled completely?
I was homeschooled completely. So I really don't know. I know there is, I think, benefits in the like public school, in I guess both too, but of course, but in public, yeah, because there's maybe different things that they offer there that you can't offer at home. That is just the thing that I wanted my children at home, so I can be teaching them about like have this Christian school, a curriculum, and again, like knowing what they're learning and what they're not learning. And so I really felt that's what I wanted and felt was good. So there's benefits to both.
I always felt, May, that it was more of a community. It was more of a family bonding experience as well, right? Because if one of the children were struggling, then the other child could kind of explain a little bit better. We're in a classroom, it's like hush, hush, ask the teacher for the advice. Where I find in the homeschooling environment, from what you're describing, is if somebody was having a hard time, they could look at their brother or sister or their friend, because there are people that homeschool as well, other family members, right? And friends and cousins and all that. So are they able to reach out to their sibling and say, hey, I don't understand this, can you explain it? Or do they have each child has a different lesson?
Well, if they're in different grades, yeah, they have different lessons, but they the older ones can definitely help the younger ones, and yeah, so they can ask each other things like that. And I always try to get the older ones to help if I'm busy, because I can't be everywhere helping some of the little. They get on their own pretty early when they get their reading gets established good, usually by grade 4 and so on. There's the workbooks that they can really work on their own, and so my older ones, if they're working on their own, then I work with the little ones. But occasionally I really need someone to come in. I'm like, can you show them this math problems, how to do that, while I'm working with this child, how to um, learning how to read the phonics and all that. So yeah, I try to get them to help each other. Could do that more than I have been, but all that would really help. But it helps them too. Then the older ones, all of that is good for them as well. So got to be a teamwork.
Well, and that's what I hear is there's a lot of teamwork. There's a lot of connecting and bonding through homeschooling. And just the word home makes you feel welcome, where you hear school and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to go there. Like there's a lot of different people, and I know I struggle with public school. So homeschooling, I wish I would have had the option. So for anybody out there that would like to get into homeschooling, what options would you suggest for them to look into?
Wow. Well, like for curriculum, you just start Googling about homeschool curriculum. There's different groups. Maybe if you would start looking for a group in your community, that might help. So if it's totally new, then yeah, you might want to find a group in your area. There's lots of Facebook group. We have a Facebook group just for the group I'm in our area, and so that you can start asking them questions about where like what curriculums people suggest and everything, because it's a lot out there, and you start looking and you're just like, oh my goodness, what is a good one? There's a lot, so probably try to find other people that's homeschooling, and just really take it easy. They say always tell new ones that are homeschooling. So if you've been public school, you had your kids in public school and you're switching to homeschool, don't try to replicate the classroom. It's not going to be the same. It's much more different. I explained it, but it's just not going to look quite like that. But you're gonna, and so just start slow teaching and seeing how your child learns best. And yeah, there's just a lot. There's so much resources out there. I don't know if I gave.
So we have a question, and we have another question here for you from YouTube. May they're asking about your grief story. So, as a parent who has lost a child, they want to know what steps you took for yourself as a mom to grieve. Did you take any support courses, classes, or anything like that, or did you turn to family? Right? I know you turned to writing because you wrote the book, but what else did you do for yourself? They're asking.
Yes, I didn't get any professional help. Okay, any professional support help. I didn't do that. I didn't feel like I needed that, but I did have my community of friends and family, and like I said, like the books I was reading, that seemed to really help, and my peace I had in God. But I would call my mom up different times, crying, and talk to her about different things, and she just really helped me. So that support of my family and friends, and just the friends coming around me and being there for me. So I didn't get the professional help. Yeah, it could be good for some people. I think maybe would really really need that. I had friends that had also had loss, so they would send me a little message and just say, how you doing? I've been there, and I would know they have, right? I already knew that they had lost. So they would send me maybe scripture verses and just these little notes. And it would really, really help me knowing that they were thinking about, and that they had been there, and that they were still going, strong. So I think that's what really helped me. And music, praise and worship music was a big one for me. So if you're not into that, I mean, it's, that's what really helped me. I turned on my music, and I would try to look for songs that people that had gone through stuff. And so there's different singers that I like that have lost someone, like Jeremy Camp had lost a wife, his first wife, to cancer. Steve and Curtis Chapman, he's a singer that had lost a little girl too. And so when you find these songs of people that they know what they're singing about, when they know, and so those songs just really helped me. I really enjoyed that, put my praise and worship on, and do my about the day. So I guess that's kind of what I've done.
I'm really glad that you brought up music because music really does help, right? When we don't know where to go. Sometimes the lyrics, just that song, just makes a difference, right? It can be our song of release as well for
Yes.
crying and that. Losing a child is really hard. I'm really sorry for your loss, May. As a mom, I've lost a child as well, so I resonate
Mm.
a lot with your story, and I really felt connected to you because of the loss in family members and that as well. Um, so I want to get into a couple of questions before we wrap up your tea time because time is just flying by quick this morning. So I want to thank all of the supporters and viewers that are listening and tuning in and sending me questions. I do appreciate that. But I asked you what your favorite color was, May. So could you share what your favorite color is?
Yes, I think I said it was maroon. Uh, and there's nothing significant with it. I just like the color, how it looks on me. Like I have a few shirts, so that color, and um, so I like how that kind of goes with me. I don't have anything significant with it. No.
And I asked you one word that describes you as a person. And do you remember what the word was that you gave me?
Hmm. I can't remember. Radiant? No, it wasn't.
Started with a
Vibrant.
V. It started with a V.
Vibrant. Vibrant. And I felt, because that's, I really do feel like I've been able, to hold on strong through it all, and I'm still vibrant, and I'm for Jesus, and I want to be able to be excited so people can see that hope in me, that I did grieve, but I'm still got so much hope in me that keeps me strong and joyful, and it's only God. This is the joy of the Lord is my strength. So yeah.
So if you had one favorite scripture that you'd like to share with us, what would it be, May?
One favorite scripture. Oh boy, I have so many. Well, maybe the theme of verse for my book, which I can read right off the back of my book here. Yeah, that'd be Romans 5:13. Now the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, that you may abound in hope through the power of the Holy Ghost. So I just love that. So the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace. So we can still abound in hope regardless of what we've gone through, because of God and because He is still in charge and on the throne. We can abound in hope, and that's what I want people to experience through this book. That they can still, direct them to Jesus, where hope comes from, and that they can feel that, and just to keep holding on to that hope.
And can you hold the book up one last time for the viewers that just tuned in?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
So I want to get into your YouTube channel. What can we find on your YouTube channel? And are you doing like interviews on the YouTube channel? Is it content about grief? What exactly is on your YouTube channel?
It's a variety of things, and I just do a little by myself, so I don't interview anyone. I haven't had anyone on there like that. I just do my own things, and it's a variety of things because I'm a mom. And so it's parenting, it's maybe some homeschooling stuff, it's spiritual insights, things that God put in my mind and heart to share, that I want to share with other women, encourage them in their walk to draw them closer to God, and hope and encouragement and inspiration for those going through hard things. And what I should mention, in 2020, I actually went to the cemetery where all three of the family members are, that we mentioned, my son, my dad, and my brother. And I stood there in the graveyard, and I did these videos. I was doing them about every 2 weeks or something. And that series is called Grieving with Hope from the Cemetery. I think that's the name, Grieving with Hope. And Hope from the Cemetery. There'd be Hope from the Cemetery series 2020 series. And like I said, I would stand by the graves there where you could see them in the background. Usually I would mention, and I would just, the first one, of course, I kind of shared my story, and then every time when I come, I'd mention, here I am by the grave of my son and my dad and my brother, and I'm here to give hope. And I might read verses from the Bible, some other things that I was going through, some things that that I'd already maybe shared in the book on a blog post, and I would give that hope and encouragement. So that's on there too. And I just wanted to give hope from the most unlikely place to find it, in a cemetery. because that's a hopeless place. But even there, I wanted to bring the hope and from there to people. So that's on there, and yeah, just a kind of a variety of things. And I have a grief Facebook group as well that I have over 1,400 members on now, and so I share a little post to and give encouragement, and other people when they join, they usually share someone they just lost, and then people can comment on that and encourage them and share their own story or something. So that's pretty neat that I have that. I do lives on there once in a while to reach out to them and everything.
So is that a private group or a public group?
The public group, people can join without being approved, but then I approve the post. So I'm going to try to keep on top of that so I can keep the posts coming in. And, there's, when you're a part of something that big, there's always some spam stuff or something that I approve the post. But it's a place, to give hope and encouragement so people can give that and to receive that, and to lift each other up and understand what each other is going through in our grief, whether it's, a loss of a child or a spouse or a brother or a sister, mom or dad, or whatever it is.
Well, and I think it's important to have that community, right? And
Mm-hmm.
hearing other people's stories actually help us. For myself, anyway, I feel that way. I don't know how you feel about that, May. When you hear someone who has a story that almost resonates with you because it's so similar, because each of our pains are different. But I mean, when we hear stories that are similar of a loss, does that help you as well?
Yes. Yeah. And you just helps you know that you're not alone. And then usually a person will share, things they're going through, and you can share, this is what I've been through. And so, yes, it does help a lot to have that community.
So, any final words before we wrap up your tea time?
Wow. Well, I just hope it's been an encouragement to someone. I try so hard, to give that hope that I have. So I hope it's been reflected. Always wonder, I was like, oh, did they see the hope of Jesus in me? So it just, to keep holding on to hope. I appreciate this opportunity to share what, the story that God allowed to happen in my life. I believe it's for a purpose for someone else, and they can feel the same way, that whatever happened in their life, we may not know, but God can take that and to turn it into something beautiful for someone else, and just to keep hanging on. And as you reach out to others, that heals you. So that healing as well, when we think of how we can help someone else that's going through the same thing. And yeah, just keep trusting in God, that He's got a plan, and he said he'd never leave us nor forsake us.
So, if anybody wanted to reach out to you, how could they reach you, May?
I have a website and blog. It's at maerenfroe.com. They get you over, my YouTube channel. Grief group is called Grieving with Hope. And then my Facebook, I have just like a public Mae Renfroe Facebook page where that's, not my personal one. And so I share a lot of stuff on there. So there are, my website and blog would be a good place. All right. And my email is just maerenfroe.ca, yahoo.ca as well. I would love to hear from people that enjoyed me sharing my story, and that it was a help to them and stuff. I would really enjoy that, to hear from others. And I'm looking for opportunities to be able to speak in person and to share my story and that hope that I have. So would love to hear from anyone that might have an opportunity that I can go, and we can travel as a family. We got a motorhome so we can travel as a family, and we're really wanting to do that, looking for opportunities. So it's kind of going to be a family ministry and project that way. So.
And any plans of that retreat happening in the future?
I'd be open if there was interest. If I would definitely be open to doing that. I would love to do that. And now it's been this year, I would love to be able to be, one of the speakers, to have someone else come in to share, and just to help us moms that have gone through that.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much, May. It was an honor having you here today on Tea Time and sharing your tea. I really love your tea, together every afternoon. And you just said it, together every afternoon. So join Miss Liz at 3 p.m. for the second Tea Time this Thursday, where I bring in Right Honorable Yvonne E. Gammer, who will be speaking about human rights and women empowerment and all of that good stuff. We're going to have three strong, incredible women today joining us. So join me back at 3 p.m. Again, thank you, Mae, for joining me and having an incredible tea time. And I'll be sure to grab a copy of that book as well. So thank you all to the viewers and listeners. And I will see you guys for a second tea time today at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with a second guest. So thank you again, Mae. And don't leave. We will talk in the studio.
All right. Thank you.